welcome to the third podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Mr. Kirk Haston is with us today, and I consider Kirk one of my good friends, and we really got to know each other years ago at Perry County. Now, I may be wrong, but my memory of it is when I took the job there, you had been working out with the Philadelphia 76ers, or was fixing to go.
That is right. I'd been cut from the Charlotte Hornets and had gone to try out and was going to the Philadelphia 76ers for their preseason.
That was what I remember. And I remember coming in the gym one day, and you and Mr. Hoyt were in there, and he was putting you through it. And that was kind of a connection we had before we ever really met. Was my dad played at Freed Hardeman for 2 years, while Mr. Hoyt was the assistant coach for a guy named Dick Stewart, I think was the guy's.
That's right.
The guy's name. And I was always amazed that your granddad met me one time, and every time I'd see him after that, he would say the Scottsdale Flash's son. It was
He had a memory. He had an unbelievable memory. Just a Rolodex of family trees, and could always, once he met you, he knew you, and he always made you feel like that you'd known him for a long time too. It's a nice talent that I think we've got some family on both sides that have that ability or had that ability.
He was. I really always enjoyed getting to be around your granddad. He was always just amazed me that he remembered everything about me or my dad, and Dad was like, I was not a very good player there, but he'd always ask about Dad and talk about him. So that was kind of our ties go back, and we also played against each other in high school. And you may remember this. We found a tape.
Old tape.
Yep. And if anybody saw that tape, I destroyed that tape, by the way. If you watched that, there's no way in the world you'd have ever known Kirk was going to be in the NBA, and you'd have never known I would have played anywhere, because we both looked awful. And when we're watching it, we're like, nobody ever needs to see this one. That Scottsdale Perry County game is now lost.
Yeah,
lost the time.
I'm fine with that one going away. That one was not a very good highlight reel of either one of us.
But Perry County, it keeps making it into the West Tennessee box score in different ways. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in that kind of basketball crazy environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this tradition that you grow up with, and you just breathe it in, and you live it all the time growing up, and you learn from all of these people that came before you that things that you might think were possible for kids in a rural area. You look at what some of the past did, and that it was, and it makes you believe that you can do it. And it's just kind of something that kind of begots future history when you have that kind of tradition that you're living around all the time.
Right. It was when I got there as a coach, it was just a special place for me to be. It greatly impacted my life, my time there. Just you get there, and there's one of the things that stood out to me at Perry County is you walk in, and they had all this history, but you walk in the gym, it's pretty much state championship banners are bust. All the districts, it's not allowed in the gym, and I was like, it was a great tool coaching the middle school. I was like, guys, if you want anything in that gym, you're going to have to get to the state finals. That's your only hope of getting anything up there.
Those banners weigh heavy on everybody's mind, and it's you go to some other places, and there's kind of banners for everything up there, and you're just like, it's kind of nice to have a little bit cleaner look if you can. So it is nice to kind of have that tradition and history behind us.
Well, our current Perry County, you're back coaching again.
Yep.
You got two sons playing for you. I'm a little familiar with this. I coach my daughters.
My condolences.
Yeah,
no, it's not all bad.
And played for my dad my senior year. He came out of retirement my senior year, so it was
You've had it on both ends.
I've had it on both. I've been the father and the son in that situation. So I have my own memories and feelings about it. What's it been like for you so far?
Well, I think that my sons would say it's something that is a lot tougher than what it should be. When the interaction I had yesterday with my oldest son, Kenner, it's different. It is different when you just go to the gym and you're working with them, or you're in the backyard working with them, and you say something and you kind of get like the teenage, like roll of the eyes, this and that. When it's a father-son situation that's not on a high school practice you kind of can understand it and deal with it a little bit. That bleeds over every now and then, where I was telling him, I was like, you got to have a little bit better vertical balance on that jump shot. He has a tendency to kind of let his legs swing out from underneath him. He gave me the kind of the Sunday afternoon eye roll a little bit that if it was parent thing, it's not a bad thing. I brought him over here and I said, when we're on the court, I said, you know, you're not going to do that to a head coach anywhere else, and you're not going to do it on this court. And so maybe I need to be a little bit more consistent on the off days, but it makes it's an interesting dynamic that I don't wish on just everybody.
No, it's tough. I found that just the nature of it. I was harder on my own.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I would take stuff out on them because I knew I wasn't going to get in trouble for, nobody. I wasn't going to get any backlash for getting onto my own.
Their moms get upset a little bit at
They
it.
do.
Yes, they you've probably
grandmoms.
Yes,
grandmoms, moms.
We still hear it from family members
Yes.
sometimes. It's just a little bit closer related.
The season outlook. I know you've returned several. You've got. I don't want to start naming names because I'll leave somebody out, but I know them. Lot of talent. I got to watch them last year. I know the kind of up and down season a little bit, but looked good in both Scotts Hill games. That was
It was a strange year. We didn't have any seniors last year, and so from the previous year we'd lost a starter, and so we were down a key player from the year before. Took us a while to get our legs underneath us. We ended up with a couple more wins than the previous year and went one step further in the region tournament than the previous year. But we do have everybody coming back, and we've added some freshmen I think that are going to help us. But it's going to be anytime that you're having to butt heads against Wayne County and Summertown, and Frank Hughes has been tough for the last few years. It's going to be it's going to be a challenge, but I'm optimistic on the season outlook.
Well, I've got 2 books here down here, and the first one, I'm gonna give you a plug, even though this was a while ago. You wrote a book from your time at Indiana, Days of Night. I seen it on Amazon today. If you've never read it, it is a great read. One of the more enjoyable reads for me personally. Of course, I love basketball. You did a great job writing this book. It reads easy. I read it in one setting. And I don't do that. I'm not that kind of reader. Sit down and read it in one setting. But Big Ten Player of the Year, right?
I was runner-up to Frank Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were. You were Player of the Year.
I think you knew that.
I did do that on purpose.
No. It's okay.
But so I can't have you on here without talking a little bit of Bob Knight.
Yeah.
I've done asked you to tell 1 or 2 stories, so if you would, I'm just going to give you the floor for a minute because I know folks love to hear about that time.
I'll try to tell a couple quick ones. One that was Perry County related. Coach Knight came in and was coming in to fish with some friends that he'd made that were friends of Granddad's that lived at Perry County, and we still had workouts going on. So he was coming. He was staying at my house with Granddad, and Granddad dropped him off, picked him up. Well, while they were fishing in the Buffalo, Coach Knight's son Pat was in the second boat, and Coach Knight was in the first boat. And they were making a turn in one of the bends, and Coach Knight was getting up so he could hear the conversation a little bit better at the front of the boat. And by the time that they turned, he fell over the boat into the Buffalo. And not many people know that Coach Knight was baptized in the Buffalo. So Pat comes around in the second boat and is just dying laughing, and Coach Knight's trying to get his St. Louis Cardinals hat that's floating down the river that LaRusso had given him at spring training. Anyhow, I heard the story. I knew that he'd fallen off, but I hadn't brought anything up to it. I had never said anything to him about it. And so fast forward to when practice starts, a couple months later, we're at practice and it's Coach Knight's birthday. We'd had a good practice. Customarily, we take a birthday cake out there to him, and we went out and sang happy birthday to him. And then he comes back in after practice to go over tomorrow's schedule and to thank us for the birthday cake and this and that. He was in a good mood, and so I'm like, this is the time I'm going to bring this up. So I was like, I had it in my mind, I'll say, when he comes in, I'm just going to say something about, I was going to get you a life jacket for your birthday. That's what I was going to say. That was the line I'd practiced in my mind. And he came in, he was talking to us, and he's a pretty intimidating guy. And so I kind of bailed on the idea while he was in the middle of the room, and I waited until he just got a little bit outside the doorway of the locker room. And I said, I was going to get you a life jacket for your birthday, but I couldn't find one your size. And I kind of looked around at my teammates because they knew the story, and I was kind of patting myself on the back that I told it. And he came bolting back in the locker room. And he came over to my locker where I was sitting, half smiling, half not. And he points his finger at my face and he goes, "If your bleeping friends knew how to drive a boat, I wouldn't have needed a life jacket." And that was the last time I ever brought that up to him. So that was a fishing story, a quick golf story. Now I wasn't here for this one, but this one I've heard over the years and from some good sources that Coach Knight got really frustrated on the golf course, which is easy to do. And but he got frustrated so much that he took his clubs off the golf cart and he just threw them in the edge of a pond or lake that he was playing at, and left. Went to the car, realized that he didn't have his keys because they were in the golf bag. Goes all the way back out to that lake, goes over, picks the bag up out of the lake, gets his keys out of the bag, throws the clubs back in the water, and then goes back to the parking lot, which I've always appreciated and always have wanted to do, but never did have the guts to quite go that far.
Well, with golf, that's one of our ties.
Yeah.
We do a golf tournament every year together, and here's one of the things that I want to say about Kirk. He's one of the better basketball players. Obviously, I mean, he played in the NBA. But here's what happens sometimes, and I've been guilty of uttering words like this. People will look 6'9", 6'10", shoot the eyes out of it, but people look and they'll say something like, "Well, if I was 6'10", I'd play in the league." And I've learned, I want to tell them, no, you wouldn't. The work that you put into it, and I really realized there was something different about you on one of our golf trips. We're playing, in this golf tournament, it was set up for hacks, but where we could still compete.
Getting strokes, handicap.
Getting strokes, handicap, where it can be a competitive event, because a lot of us that coach like to compete, and a lot of us that used to play sports want to compete. So we're playing in this. We played 36 holes down in the Robert Trent Jones in July or June. It was June.
Yeah, it was like 110 heated days.
It's miserable. Everybody played bad. We get off the course, and the first thing I want to do is we're going to meet and we're going to have this time. When we get there, Kirk's not there. This man is out on the driving range beating balls after a day when it's because he was mad at how he played. I was like, that kind of drive and that kind of competitiveness and that kind of work ethic, it's just something that's in people. And I was like, you don't just go play in the NBA. That's not. Size had nothing to do with what got you there. It was work ethic, and I've got to see it firsthand. We've tried to hose you as much as we can, and I don't know, you've won the thing like 5 times, and we
4 times.
4 times. Okay. I thought Danny told me 5.
Well, no, actually, this last year was the 5th one.
Was
You're
the
right.
5th one?
You're right.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
right.
and we can't
right.
even we give ourselves all the strokes we can, and we still can't win the thing. But the golf tournament's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna plug that while we're on here. So I'm plugging books. We'll plug
the Great State Cup.
The Great State Cup. We've been able the last few years to raise.
It's been a great thing that you created, and it's helped a ton of people, and we've raised a ton of money to help a lot of people. So it's been a great thing to be a part of, and it's evolved over the years, but it's evolved in a very positive way that's made a great impact on a lot of people.
It's changed a lot. Let's talk for a minute before I get too much into some other stuff on my mind.
Yeah.
NBA. You were in the league at the same time as MJ.
Yeah.
So, Charlotte Hornets. Let's see. Byron Davis was who was on your team?
I was with it was Davis, who just got cut from Dancing with the Stars like the first day, but that didn't go well for Barron. PJ Brown, Jamal Mashburn, Jamal
Mashburn. Oh wow, that's a name I hadn't heard.
So a lot, and you're talking about work ethic. Like I was so impressed, and this is hard for an Indiana guy to say about a Kentucky person, but I just was so impressed with Mashburn's work ethic. Like he was, it was pretty amazing. But yeah, it was a fun. George Lynch, another name blast from the past. Robert Tractor Trailer.
Oh yeah.
It was a fun.
That was another Big Ten guy, right?
It was a fun group to hear some stories from his Michigan days, and Eldon Campbell talking about some days of being with the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. So it was always I was always glad to be a fly on the wall listening to some of those guys.
And you played. I'm going to make you tell that. Kirk does a lot of camps for me. He's coming.
Everybody
camps.
Well, everybody has their go-to stories at camps or
Yeah.
or different events. But the one that my sons still like to make fun of me the most to this day is that me me and Michael Jordan did combine for 53 points in a game one time when we played against him at the Wizards, and yes, he had 51 of them, and that's a true story. And then after the game, this shows you how great Jordan was. After the game, what he was doing that year was his last year. He was 38 years old, I think. It was his last year, and he would pick out somebody. Once he played their last game against them, he would pick out one player on the other team that he really respected, and he would send his game shoes to him, and he would sign each shoe. So after that game that he scored 51 in, and I had 2, he had sent his signed shoes, game shoes, to Stacey Augmon, who was a teammate also. And so we get over there, and these ball boys from the Wizards bring over the shoes to give to Stacey. And so I'm going to the bus. I wasn't doing a lot of interviews after that game. My 2 points. So I was ready and I was going to the bus, and he was just like, Kirk, can you take these to the bus for me? And I'm like, sure. And so I've got Jordan's game shoes that he's just scored 51 in. You know, it's both of them huge Jordan autographs. And I'm a big collector and memorabilia nerd, and I'm like, I wonder what this would get on eBay. But I'm just thinking. Also, it hits me. I'm like, how great do you have to be to beat somebody and then send them your dirty shoes, and you're grateful for it?
Happy to have them.
That's a level of goatness that nobody is getting to these days. But that's one of my favorites.
NBA time. Let me ask you this. I've never asked you this question. What was your favorite arena?
Madison Square Garden. It really does. Now, the locker room, they've remodeled everything. The locker rooms back then were terrible, but it was really neat because everything else was so, everywhere you went, it was just like catered to you, and it was posh, and it was comfortable, and this and that. And the Knicks locker room was like you were going on the road, to play, at Frank Hughes in 1995. I mean, it was just like, it was like 12 folding chairs. It was like the old hooks behind you that you just hang stuff on, and there was like a shower stall that had enough room for like 5 shower heads, and it was just like right out of, like, it looked like something that Rocky Balboa would have trained in. But the inside the arena, there was just no match for the energy and just the setting. It was awesome.
Now, Assembly Hall.
Yeah.
If you guys watching this, go to YouTube. The game-winning shot against Michigan State when they were number 1 in the country. You hit the game winner at the buzzer. I can't imagine what that was like. Just watching it even on YouTube, the celebration, it was
It's really hard to, it really is like, one of those things. And that was, the first ever game-winning shot I took was my junior year in high school to win the state title against Boyd Buchanan, and I missed a game-winning shot from about 10 or 12 feet. So I was, at that point in time, when we were playing Michigan State, they were undefeated and they were number 1 in the country, reigning defending champions. I was, in my life, 0 of 1 on taking game-winning shots. So that was the second one. So I'm currently 1 of 2.
50%.
But yeah, it was just, it was really awesome. I mean, Zach Randolph was guarding me. I saw him at an event about, 5 or 6 months ago, and he was giving me a hard time, said that Izzo lit him up on the bus ride home, and I was like, that really makes me happy, But yeah, it is kind of the stuff that you hear sometimes people talk about. You don't hear anything. It gets really quiet. It gets really slow, and then once you see the net, move, it's like this rush of sound. And the next day, the student section stormed the court. The next day there was sneaker marks that you could see down the sides of the walls where people had slid down for the game, and that was probably my one NCAA violation, because we went to Mustard's restaurant that night and the guy wouldn't let me pay for my hamburger. So that was good. I think we're
that was your NIL deal back in the day.
Yeah, that was the one benefit I probably got that I shouldn't have.
All right, one other Indiana question, and I may be way off on my memory, but I'm wanting to think that I read it in here. I don't want to give your book away if somebody hasn't read it. But a lot of people have. Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Did he come to practice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me because Isaiah gets a bad rap for all the stuff with Jordan. He brought it on himself to some degree. Yeah. But at the same time, growing up, he was one of my favorite players for a long time. Even though I was a Celtics guy, Isaiah he was.
It can be argued that, pound for pound, the toughest competitor to ever play in the NBA. I mean, because he he really had no business at his size accomplishing and going at the people that he did the way he did. I mean, he really didn't. But like he came back. He was at that point in time. Man, I'd have to look it up, but I think he was close to 50 years old when he came back. And we had Coach Knight would bring back people all the time to come talk to us. Calvert Chaney, Alan Henderson, Coach Majerus, all kinds of people. Peyton Manning. And we'd heard that Isaiah might come talk to us, like everybody else talks to us. Spurrier came back one time, completely embarrassed himself. He was terrible. For another day. But so Isaiah shows up and talks to us in the locker room before practice, which is what most of these guys did, and then those guys would go out and watch practice. He gives us up and down about taking pride in what it means to play underneath those banners at Indiana and play for Indiana. And that was the speech. We thought that was it. And so we leave and we go out and we stretch, and we're getting divided up into red, white for our workouts and our scrimmages that day. And we look around and Isaiah Thomas is walking out in practice gear, number 11 practice gear, number 11 on his shorts. And it's just like it's like a ghost has walked in the building, but like you're like, man, this ghost can still play, and so we get divided up, and the play that always stuck out in my mind, and I still I've got a video of it on my phone still I recorded it when I went back and found the tape of the practice and recorded it, and Isaiah Thomas is D'ing up AJ Guyton, who's All-American, best player on our team at the time. And AJ loses the handle. I can't remember if Isaiah may have poked it just a little bit. Ball gets loose near half court, and AJ turns around to just pick it up. And before he can pick it up, Isaiah dives on the floor and gets the ball and wrestles it away from him. And Coach Knight just stops practice. And Coach Knight really didn't even say much. He just stopped practice, and he just kind of looked at Isaiah. And he was just like, boys, I think that's a wrap for today.
That's awesome.
And it's just like, if you could not have a better punctuation mark on a practice or a moment than just like, man, that's what you need to see. That's what legends do.
That is, again, I really hate the beating he takes sometimes in the press. And like I said, he brought some of it on himself, because Jordan is Jordan. Yeah. He's the GOAT.
But if you're willing sometimes to, somebody that's willing to stand up to that and go after it, that also has
keeps
to have
keeps his name out there.
It has to have a little bit of respect too. Yeah. So
now you had some possible questions for me.
I just real quick. Okay. Just 3 dumb things that bother me. That's all I wanted to throw out at you. And one of them's not basketball. A couple of them are. And your audience can be the judge on whether they're dumb because I'm bothered this much by it and I'm the dumb one, or these things are actually dumb. All right, one thing is any of these games that revolve around guessing a number and it's without going over the number. Like you can't go over. It's the Price is Right plague. I don't know why Price is Right did this. It's ruined the Price is Right. If anybody still watches Price is Right, it's absolutely ruined the Price is Right. People do the dollar and then one up over. It's stupid. All right. Somebody guessed. There was a game the other day I was watching, and they were like, guess how long like the World Series lasted. And it was supposed to be like 14,000 seconds, and they guessed like 14,800. And they got beat. And then the other person did the math wrong and guessed 1,400, and they won. That's stupid. All right, move on. Yeah. Next.
Go ahead. Over. I agree. I always
guess the closest without going over. Yeah. What does it matter? Just whoever gets closest. Yeah, it's so stupid.
I agree with that one. Okay.
Okay. All right. Next thing. All right. When high school basketball practices begin, you get 14 days before the first game can occur. This is crazy. I don't know what we're doing here. All right. High school football, I think, gets around 24 days.
Yep.
And like, I'm not asking for 30 days, 35, 20 would be great. Even if you started mid-October and say small groups, non-contact skill stuff. I've met with the TSSAA about this. I've never ever been given a good reason why we can't do work with basketball players on basketball things that are wanting to play basketball. One reason I heard at one point they were just like, well, we don't want them to get too worn out. It's a long season. We'll get beat up. Well, guess what we're doing? Plows, running, and lifting. My guys would love if we go in and did an hour of shooting and ball handling instead of me running them to death or doing plows. So I don't buy that for a second. Thoughts?
I had a kid in middle school one time. We were told can't practice basketball till X day. And some of the rationale was didn't want a kid to not play another sport because they felt like they would miss something in basketball. Well, this kid didn't play another sport because he didn't want to play anything else. He wanted to be great at basketball, and I couldn't work with it.
It was crazy.
And I was like, "Why? We're supposed to be helping kids.
It's crazy.
Why would we not? Why would we not have this kid in the gym every day that wants to be there, that wants to learn, wants to work?" So
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other main reason I hear. And what kids do we know that aren't playing football because they think they're going to miss out on shooting jump shots in October? That's the dumbest reason I've ever heard too. But that's a reason I hear a lot too.
Let me say this to all the kids out there. When I was at Perry County, I had an amazing group. My time there, at the middle schools.
You did a great job with it.
It was an amazing group. But I've shared this before. Dre Mercer, Jacob Tucker, two guys that I'll talk about. They would get up, they would go lift with football in the mornings in the summer. They would come to me, play 2 camp games, and then work in the concession stand.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Glenn Mercer would come pick them up. They would go haul hay.
Yeah.
And then they would be at the baseball diamond that night. Nowadays, we have kids who can't come to basketball camp because they got a baseball game that night.
Load management.
And I'm like, look, the two of the best athletes I've ever coached.
Yeah.
Lifting, playing, working a mental job and a physical job, and then playing baseball at night. And they turned out pretty stuff like that. I don't want to get on my soapbox.
Yeah, no, please do. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I
we went to a practice when I'll tell this story too. I was at Bradford. David Russell was in Gibson County. And, one of the game's great coaches. We go to watch a practice. They're getting ready for a tournament. That's something you did back then. You go see what he would let you come in and watch.
Yeah.
He's got kids running the bleachers the day of a district tournament game. And you're like, "Coach, did y'all have a game tonight?" And he's like, "Yeah, they got young legs. They'll be fine." And you think back to playing. Coach Greer used to wear us out of Jackson State.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if I'd be able to get up. An hour later, I'd be playing tennis at the.
Yeah.
You do young legs recover. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just a little soapbox. I didn't mean to get.
No,
I don't know how I got down this road.
I think that's perfect. I think that's perfect.
And you got
one more. Okay. We need to go in high school and college. We need to go to 6 fouls. Okay. And here's my rationale. Here I'll lay it out, and then everybody else can pile on or debate or enjoy it. I got into it with Jay Billis about this at one point, and Jay Billis has a higher IQ than me. He's a smarter man than me. He should have been the head of NCAA years ago. It would have saved a lot of problems probably. But he's dead wrong on this, and he made some of the stupidest points I've ever heard when we were going back and forth about this. But here's the thing. It's been 5 fouls, an arbitrary number that was set in 1943. Okay? The game has evolved to the point where now we have 3 officials on the court, so there's more whistles that go around. There's more possessions per game, and it's more physical. Okay, one of the hardest things in the world to officiate is the block charge call, and we have entire seasons and entire state tournaments coming down to, well, is this going to be this kid's 5th foul or not, or is this kid going to have to come out and sit the last, quarter or the second quarter, and it's a shame. It's the only sport. Imagine in football if an offensive lineman had a certain amount of holding calls, and in the second quarter, this star offensive lineman gets a second holding call early in the second quarter, and the announcers are like, well, we're not going to see Fred Jackson again the rest of the half because he can't get another holding call. We're the only sport that in the normal course of action and even bad calls or 50-50 calls, kids that are wanting to play basketball, have only 4 years to play basketball, are told you can't play because you just got dinged with a second or third foul. And it's just, if we go to 6 fouls, it lets the kids play more of the games. It takes pressure off of the officials. It takes pressure off of the coaches. It takes pressures off the fans who get upset about, kids having to come out, and it dictates entire seasons. If we just go, now, and this is my last thing I'll make, the reason why it shows that it's not thought through very well is because us genius coaches, when we go into overtime, we're given what? An extra timeout because the game was not designed for we've got to make sure the coaches get an extra timeout because the time of the game. Players absolutely hosed. It makes no difference if it goes 7 overtimes. You've got to continue to play with 5 fouls. Now that's a different argument a little bit, but still 6 fouls at the very least, add a foul per player in each overtime. to just allow for these players to come back in. It's just some common sense, low-hanging fruit that should be. I've gone down the path with TSSAA for 3 years about this. It takes one region of the country's to propose a rule change, and this one to agree with it, and then it's crazy. But it needs to go to 6 fouls. It'll take a lot of stupidity away from situations in late season stuff, especially in both college and high school.
Well, me and you usually like to argue.
Yeah.
But my daughter was the most foul-prone human ever, and she's a terrible defender now because they needed her. So I told her when I coached her high schools, they had to have her on the floor.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from exactly.
Don't touch anybody.
Yeah,
and it made her even more foul-prone because instead of guarding hard, you're trying not to foul, and you get in bad positions. And I've been even further. I've always said personal fouls shouldn't matter. Tacking on to the team fouls, penalize it how you want to, but
I agree.
I don't even think they should keep. That was my argument.
I think
flagrant fouls, hey,
yes,
you got to deal with.
Yes,
technical fouls.
Yeah, I think there's a way that we could make the game just so much better if we just get off some of these things that are just arbitrary and we just do them because they've always been done there. And I don't care what Jay Billis says. Yeah,
the foul thing, and one of them is like the other night she checked into one of her first games ever at Breach. You know, could play like freshman. We joked about it. She picked up a personal foul and then she got a charge call. And I was like, she got 2 fouls and 30 seconds of playing time. It's just like high school again.
Yeah.
It was No, I've always felt like, and Jacob Tucker, Perry County kid, we lost a tournament game one year. Here's one that's even better, the phantom foul.
Yeah.
Put the foul on the wrong kid.
Yes.
It was his 3rd foul. He wasn't even involved in the play. Ref error.
Yeah.
But nothing we could do about it. You know, and they're like, well, no, this is what the book says. He's got 3. And I was like, he wasn't even in the. Yeah. So it eliminates the.
It does. It's just a protection and insurance and just. It's just for the good of the game, and these kids have a finite amount of time they're playing or able to play anyhow. I don't know why we're capping it with some very tough situational 50-50 calls that are dictating whether they're in the game or in dictating seasons and outcomes.
Well, those are 3 good questions. I've got one more book here that I want to pick up, and I got another story. This is my Bible, and one of the things, like I said, me and Kirk. When he came back to Perry County, we were on the same coaching staff briefly, and that was if you follow my regular Facebook, I talked a lot about that group of boys, the impact they had on my life, practicing what you preach kind of thing, where I gave good advice, I didn't live good advice, and I was really struggling with some things at that point in my life. If you followed the page and followed the first podcast, I was never a bad guy, but I did some bad. Was down a path, but I was struggling with some things at Perry County. I never will forget this about Kirk because we really hadn't known each other very long. Like I said, we competed against each other some, but we were still pretty new to each other. And I had some Bible questions, I guess you could say. And I never will forget. We're in the old gym at Linden, and this man took the time at that point in time in our lives. The guy coming back from the NBA, and here I was, just the middle school coach there. And I was a piece of work in my own right. But sit down and open this book up with me and talked about it. And I was telling him, to this day, we may not always agree on everything, but he, even back then, challenged me to read this book. And I can't think he'll never know what that meant to me. And looking back, what it means to me, because that was the time in my life where I really started. The biblical term I think would be conviction. I was dealing with some stuff, but getting into God's Word, it really changed my life. And you played a bigger role in that than you probably ever realized before. But I just wanted to, while I had you on here, I wanted to thank you for that, because it's like I've said at the start, I always want to include Jesus in anything I do now, even these podcasts, as much as I can.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that about you, and I've seen an incredible change, and you've really been a positive role model, a positive example in that lot. And one of the other things that I've told to campers and church groups over the years is like there's no more important decision that any person will ever make than becoming a Christian. And we talk a lot about sports. We put a lot of emphasis on practice and training and workouts and getting all this and that and getting. yeah, in the end, if you look up the numbers, I think it's 0.02% of athletes end up becoming professional athletes, but 100% of us are going to stand in front of that judgment seat one day.
Amen.
And so we've just got to make sure that we have fun with athletics. We compete. We give it all. We use our talents the best we can. But in the end, if we're not putting God first, then it's all for naught.
Well, man, I appreciate you. I am going to tell one more basketball story, though, because
right.
I meant to work this in earlier, and I just thought about it.
Okay.
Because I had Haskins on here last week.
Haskins is really. I've seen shooters from. I've played overseas. I've played in the NBA. I've played in the Big Ten. I would say Bucky Haskins is. I mean, he's at least 99th or 100th best shooter I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, he's
better than that. A lot better than that.
Well, this story, you know, a few years ago, I'd have people come. My dad was a really good high school player at Scotts Hill. And when I realized how good my dad was, is when all these men would come up to me. They'd be like, "Are you Joe Hampton's son?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they'd tell me this story about this one time I got the jump ball against your dad. If they ever did anything, they were just so excited and would brag. You know, I did this against you. And I was like, he must have been pretty good for these men to be that excited to talk about it.
From what I've heard, that's fact.
But so one of the things I love to tell is one of those days at Perry County before you went to the Sixers, you were there working out. Of course, Bucky was an unbelievable player,
Unbelievable shooter, absolutely good player.
So we get a pickup game going. This is one of my first days back, and I had been playing like with Willie Trevathan. We talked about it. We were playing 3 times a week at Bradford Greenfield, so I was in pretty good shape at the time. Still played a lot. That one day at Perry County with All-American Haskins, an NBA player Kirk, for about 2 hours, I'm telling you people, I was the best player in the gym that day. I hit
It's the Toby Keith song.
Everything that I shot that day, and I tell everybody for one day.
I've seen you go on some crazy heaters.
Yeah.
I have.
Everybody in the, 2 of the best players I've ever been around in the gym, I was the best player that day. And I'm like those old men with my dad. I tell everybody, it's like.
Well, we got to give you the Paul Harvey rest of the story. Me and Bucky actually met up while you went out to get a drink, and we were just like, man, we really need to get this guy some confidence boosted.
Yeah.
So you really were on a heater that day.
One of the things that I loved about Perry County, the off season. Those first few years when we were working together there, and of course you had David Lee, Buck. We would all play with the kids. We'd bring the kids in. And one of the things that I loved, I'd come down that last block. I'm actually getting paid to do this, so I was kind of a professional athlete because I was on the payroll, and we'd come down, and Kirk would let me get the first 2 picks.
Yeah.
So I would get to pick 2, and then he would pick, and we would play. And those were some of the most fun pickup games. Some
of my favorite games have taken place at the old high school gym and in the new one. Playing on afternoons or in the evenings or after school or towards the end of school. It's some of my favorite basketball memories.
Yeah, well, it was great times. And man, I do appreciate you coming by today.
Appreciate you
doing this with us. I
Anytime.
have really enjoyed getting to talk with you. I don't get to see you as much anymore, but we'll have golf stuff coming up, and good luck this season. I look forward to, I've got a lot of ties with Perry County. I tell people outside of Scotts Hill, which was my hometown, it's my favorite place I ever worked. And it was just a basketball. Ball Town, that was
Ball Town.
Ball Town. It was truly enjoyed my time there. So I will be following the Vikings this year, and me and Jacob, we root for everybody now that we're doing this. We're everybody's fans, so look forward to following your team this year.
I appreciate the work you're doing with the sports.
Well, thank you.